Hey everybody, Father Bob here for the South Campus Show. Thanks for tuning in. Today is the 12th day of Christmas. I love the Christmas season. I always say Merry 12th day of Christmas, the Feast of the Epiphany. I'm here minus my dog Arlo. He should be coming. He's out for a walk, coming back. It's actually getting lighter already, which I love. But one of my favorite Christmas cards is that a Christmassy scene. Liz, can you get that? And we got a couple from the parish from War Road, Minnesota, and that's what it looks like up there in War Road, Minnesota. Pretty cool. One of my favorite gifts for Christmas. A cowbell, and I think the person gave this to me because she says, you just talk till the cows come home, so I might as well give you a bell. I thought that was kind of cool. They use that actually for ski races too, which you might hear out of Buck Hill. Ski season started today, the race season. That was fun. But thanks for tuning in. We've got Amee Gallagher of our staff, who's co-music director, as our guest today.
Thanks.
Amee, thanks for showing up.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. You know what? I think I get this feeling that nothing to you, but Arlo's coming. Let's see.
Yep, I hear
Here
him.
he comes. Oh,
The jingle
Arlo,
bells.
good to see you, man.
Hi.
How are you doing? Good.
Hi.
Thanks, Marge. Come here, Arlo. Oh, good boy. Good boy. Thanks. So, Arlo, let's see. Sit. So, how's the weather out there, Arlo? Pretty good? Yep. Yeah. So, thanks, Marge. Thanks. But so we did make the show after all. Anyhow, Amee, thanks for being with us. And I forget, how long have you been with us as a staff? A couple years?
A couple years. So I started playing here in 2016. I think it was the summer.
Okay.
I think it was August of 2016. So maybe right after your birthday,
Okay.
I started. Although I didn't know it was your birthday, but and
You
then
were on August.
right, yeah. And then I think came on staff. Was it November of 2000 or December of 2018?
I think so. It's funny you lose
Yeah.
track, but
So a couple
Amee's
years.
been, for the benefit, co-director of music for at least a couple of years.
Yeah.
Gary Boudre. And, but Amee, tell us a little bit about growing up. We talked a little bit, but where are you from and
So
your family and how many and all that?
sure. So I'm from a small town. Grew up in a small town in west central Minnesota, Benson, Minnesota. It's a town of like 3,300 or so. I have two sisters, older sister and a younger sister. So I'm the coveted middle child, right? My parents are both still living and doing well. Actually, my grandmother and her family are from Waconia. So we do have ties in this area, even though I'm not from the cities. And my grandfather, his family is from Chaska. And so I'm very familiar. Grew up as a child. I grew up coming to Waconia, coming to the area a lot. So yeah, I'm familiar with this area.
Benson, what's the next biggest town? Is it Will?
Probably Wilmer.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know.
And a little bit further in a different direction would be Alexandria.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're a little north of Wilmer, maybe. What was Amee Gallagher like as a kid?
Oh, I don't know. It probably near perfect, right? No.
So your mother said.
Right. So, I loved music growing up. Although there was a time I didn't. I actually would cry when I had to go to piano lessons. I wasn't a huge fan of my teacher, and I begged my mother to quit. And my mom said, "No, you don't quit anything in life." So I couldn't quit
Interesting.
piano.
And now you're teaching.
Now I'm teaching piano, right?
Doing it quite well.
Yeah.
Yeah. But did you ever get into any trouble as a kid? This perfect child.
To be truthfully honest, I was a good kid. I really was. Um, you know, I just remember being a fairly good kid. I mean, my mom would say, go do this, and we did it. And we had to clean our room every other Saturday, like dust, and she'd come in and make sure we vacuumed. And we had to hang the laundry out on the line to dry. And I mean, I had lots of chores to keep me busy. We couldn't really watch TV unless we were doing something like, cutting beans up from the garden or folding laundry. Otherwise, we just had to play and kind of make our own fun. So I don't know. I think I was a pretty good kid. Really didn't get into trouble.
Yeah, you just described something out of Happy Days.
Yeah, right, right. It was Happy Days. Yeah.
Let me ask you just another trivia question. When you were in high school, what music did you like to listen to?
Oh, probably. Well, okay. So Benson had like one radio station, and one that had music. So we really didn't have a lot of options of different types of music. We pretty much got a couple country music stations on the radio, and that was it. So if we were in the car and the radio was on, it was country music. So was it my favorite? Not really. I don't listen to country music now, but I listen to it by default. So.
Because your dad loved it.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Over that word.
Right.
So good. But moving on, college, were you a music major?
I was. I started out actually as music and Spanish. Oh. And music was really time consuming. And so after 2 years, I kind of dropped the Spanish part and just decided to do music.
Very good.
Yeah.
And, so your career as a mom, a wife, and a professional in music, where'd you go after college?
So I went to the University of Minnesota at Morris, and I stayed there a couple years teaching after, like 1.5 years. And then I went and did a master's program in piano at St. Cloud State. And then after that, I was accepted into a postgraduate program for like 10 weeks or something in Austria. So then I went there, and then I came back and was homeless. No, I wasn't homeless. I came back and had gotten a job at a music academy in Excelsior. And so that's what brought me to the area.
Okay. And at some point you got married.
Yes. So actually, when I was teaching at the academy, there was a voice teacher who wanted to set me up on a blind date. Mm-hmm. I did not want to do that. I did not want to be set up on a blind date. That sounded terrible to me. And she bothered me enough about it that finally I said yes. And it happened to be my husband. So it was a good thing.
You took a chance.
I took a chance.
It worked.
Yeah. It paid off.
Oh, that's good. And that's good. So you and Troy have been married how many years?
I had to think about it today because I was curious if you'd ask me this question. It will be 11 years in April.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. With 11 years,
four kids,
later.
9 and under.
Give me their names.
Finn is 9, Margaret is 7, Leo is 5, and Louis is 1.
And you've had Louis since you've been here.
That's right. That's right.
Love that kid. I love it when you bring him in.
Yeah.
So about life at St. Victoria, and what do you like best about your job?
Oh, it's a really good way to meet a lot of people because yes, we know the people that are involved in the music ministry, but even after Mass, there's quite a few people that will come up and just introduce themselves to say hi, to thank us for the music, or just to introduce themselves. And it's really helpful to get to know people that way, right? It's personable. And then when you see them out in the congregation, you can put a name with the face. That's what I probably like the most about it.
Yeah.
So if you haven't introduced yourself, you can come and introduce yourself.
That's what we encourage. I mean, because after a while, I think ministry is about connection,
Right.
and it's about relationships, and
Right.
like to think of ourselves as a parish family, and,
Yeah.
you know, and then we connect. And liturgy is, I mean, before, during, after is a great time
Yep.
to do it. And
Yeah.
music, you're there. Sometimes people don't see it because the piano's back or whatever.
Right.
But,
Right.
Oh, you're the lady who put
Right.
the piano. That's what
Right.
they say.
Right.
Yeah. But I've wanted to ask you this, Amy. How do you manage with 4 kids, teaching piano, co-directing music at St. Victoria? How do you manage all that? Does it get stressful? How do you pull that
Well,
off?
it does get.
And getting meals on for the kids.
Well, I mean, sometimes there are some days where they have breakfast for all 3 meals. Like that's just the way it goes. Like they will. That's right. Just grab a box of cereal for lunch, grab a box of cereal for supper. That's not all the time, but there are days where it's like that. It's a balance. I'm not sure I've got it totally figured out because it still is hard. But you just do it. And then you look back and you think, well, how did I do that? But you just do, right? You get up early. You don't get a ton of sleep, but you do it.
That's the great attitude for
Right.
things, and particularly this last year with COVID and all that. What have been some of the challenges with COVID, working, family? Everything's a little more complicated.
Sure. So a couple things. Teaching piano is something that is best done side by side. And so having to do some of that virtually has been tricky, especially with younger students. When they're, especially if they are doing it on their own and they have a keyboard at home and they're changing the sounds on it. You're like, no, stay focused, right? So that has been hard. The other thing is I homeschool the kids, and we like to stay pretty active. We're part of a homeschool co-op, so we like to go to musicals, theater plays, ballets, sporting events, orchestra concerts. I mean, we go all over the place, and we can't do any of that. So now it's just kind of, waiting to have stuff open back up so that we can get back to doing life.
You got to be creative as a parent. It's kind of like you've got you're a camp director.
Right. That's right.
That's
right. You're right.
So,
yeah. So it gets.
Any silver linings from the COVID era we're in?
I think for us, I love being with my children, and most of the time. I mean, right, everybody has days where you're like, okay, you need to go to bed because I just can't do this anymore. But I love being with my kids, and I have loved the slower pace of life. I think it's really important. Things that I value are like mealtime. Mm-hmm. I think that families should sit down at the table and eat a meal together. It's hard to do that when they're in a bunch of activities and you're running here and running there. And so I've always been very mindful of how much I have them in and to not overwhelm them. But I think that has been the best part, is just a slower pace of life and not getting overwhelmed. And really, I mean, there is a lot of anxiety. There was a lot of anxiety in 2020, don't you think? And a lot of like despair, wouldn't you say? Just hopelessness. And my son asked me, if I can tell a quick story. My son asked me today in the car, he said, Mama, why aren't you as scared or fearful about COVID? And it was an interesting question. And I said, he said the word afraid. That's what it was. He goes, why aren't you afraid as other people of COVID? And I said, well, Finn, because the Bible says, do not be afraid. Do not lose hope. And before I could finish that verse, he goes, because I am the Lord your God, and I will go with you wherever you go. And I said, that's exactly right. like, we don't have to be afraid. That doesn't mean we have to be careless, but we don't have to wake up each day in fear, because God has already gone before us and he's there with us. So I thought that was interesting.
Very, very, Amy, and it says a lot about you. It says a lot about Finn.
Right.
Epiphany says the quote.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
And, yeah, and also it's interesting that he observed that you were going about your life not held back by fear or paralyzed by fear. We all feel it.
Right.
I felt it this past year.
Of course.
Where's this going?
Of course.
How long is this going? It's not going to be 2 weeks. It's going to be however long, And
right.
we've got all these unanswered questions. It's kind of like life. But that's what they call a teachable moment for a parent.
Right.
Particularly, but that's a great story.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing it. With the the job here and working with the staff, what have you learned about St. Victoria since you've come?
What have I learned? Well,
that's maybe different. You've been to a number of places.
Yeah. You talk about how I'm a wife, a mom, and how busy I must be, but I actually am going to flip the tables, and I look at you and I think, how is he so busy all the time at your age? And I won't say your age, but how is he have time to be? He works out, he does all these ministries, he meets with people. Like, when does he have his alone time? Like, I think about that often, and I think, well, how does he do it? And sometimes it gives me perspective, like, well, why should I complain? He can do it.
Isn't it something everyone? No, I'm looking at. I've got Arlo. Arlo's low maintenance, and I got some stuff to do over across the way. I'm in the South Campus. I get the North Campus, but I think, Amy, we both get energized by what we do. I really do.
Yeah.
The Christmas masses
was fun.
You did the hard work. I mean, you and Terry and we go on with Daryl and Mark McCarthy and everyone's setting up. I just show up. Right. But I was so energized by all 5, 6 masses. Whatever. Yeah.
And it's
so
fun.
It is. It's so if you love what you're doing, it's endorphins. It's like a good workout or something. And it is a workout sometimes, and sometimes you just want to break.
That's right.
Last week was great.
Right.
But I think, we both enjoy what we do, and we love St. Victoria, the people. Yeah. Feel called here.
Right.
There's a sense of mission.
Yeah.
We're on a mission,
and
that feels good, to know that. And in COVID times, so much is out of our control, but we're trying to figure it out. Well, today, our marching orders is to show up and see what happens. And, And we come up with a plan. But it's good. Keeping the balance is important.
Yes.
And that's why I like outlets. You've got your outlets, and I think your family, and I'm sure they bring you great joy.
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
So, but Amy is a great addition to the parish, like everyone on staff.
Well, thanks.
And appreciate all you do. We've got one more question for you from the Magic Orange Hat. And you talk about not knowing. I know you said you're not scared of COVID, but you
I'm scared of this.
Now.
Right, I'm scared of
Liz,
this.
If you want to extend the Magic Orange Hat and Amy, take that.
This makes me more nervous, right? Take the hat out or just pick something out of the hat?
Take the card out and see what it is.
Oh, there's only one card in there.
One card.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
I'm curious, what do you got?
What is your favorite TV show? What do you like about it? Oh, well, okay. So this is one thing that I used to watch TV, and then I had children, and I don't even know what's on TV anymore. I have no idea. I couldn't even name 2 new shows on cable TV, and we don't have cable TV. So, what is my favorite TV show?
When you were a kid, at some time we watched TV.
You know, I do like documentaries, and I didn't always. We were talking about documentaries right before we started, about different documentaries we watched. I don't know if I have a favorite, but I feel a little smarter after watching a documentary. So any documentary about real life stuff is interesting to me. You had just said you watched one about sugar and the negative effects of sugar. So that's probably going to be the next on my list.
I'll give you the name. I haven't seen it myself. I had heard someone talk about it. I go, oh, okay.
Okay. Well, I'll watch it and then let you know.
I'm, my goal is to watch more TV this year because there's a lot of good stuff I miss out, and movies.
Well, what's your favorite TV show?
I don't watch TV.
Yes, I have no idea.
Football. That's my favorite TV show.
Well, I don't watch. Yeah, and I haven't watched football.
Quickly, all right. Your best movie last year.
Oh, the best movie. Okay. It's probably going to be a kids movie because that's all we go to. That was all we went to when the movie theaters were open. We did rent it was a Mulan is a Disney movie, and they had a real life adaptation of the animated movie, and that came out this fall, and I actually really liked that.
Nice. My favorite movie, I'll just share.
Yeah.
Was my favorite movie because it was the only movie I saw last year.
Yeah, there wasn't many movies we saw.
And it was a Netflix thing, but 42, Jackie Robinson's story, beautiful.
You know, I think my husband started watching that. I have not seen it though.
Yeah,
so
I'd recommend it. It was great.
Yeah.
It was great.
So, well, maybe that will be a goal. Watch more TV. The problem is I'm so tired at nighttime that once you get the kids to sleep, it's hard to stay awake. Yeah. Do you fall asleep during movies?
I don't watch.
Yeah, that's right. Right. That's the goal.
So,
watch a movie and stay awake for the whole thing. Right.
Well, thanks, Amy. We're going to wrap it up with pondering prompts. This week for the Feast of the Baptism of the Lord is the first reading rather is from Isaiah 55, and there's a line in there that's sort of staggering for me because it says something to the effect, and you can help me out on this, Amy, is the prophet is saying, the Lord is saying, my ways are not your ways. My ways are as high above your ways as the heavens are above the earth, and so on. And it's referring to the God of mystery. We know the God who reveals God's self through his Son and the incarnate God that we celebrate at Christmas, but the God of unknowing. And so for me, it's that element of mystery in life, and that for which there are no quick, easy answers.
Right.
But we hang on to our faith, we kind of trust, but a lot of times life doesn't have answers, but we know we're not alone. Mm-hmm. And the invitation is to trust it's all going to be good. So it's kind of the question is, when have you bumped up to, and I'm not asking you to respond to this, but the mystery element of life, like, I don't have any answers on this one. And it's mystery, and it's okay, but God is still here. And that's kind of that's the pondering with prompts. Question for the week to think about, folks. There's many, but God is both revealed and mystery and unknown, but is there. And faith calls us to take a deep breath and believe that, and not live in fear.
Right.
So beautiful. So thought for the day is when back then I did what I knew. Now that I know better, I do better, and that is called wisdom and experience. And it's the learning curve of life. So that's it, folks. Amy, thank you.
Thanks.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Until next week, take care, God bless, and happy Epiphany.